Well, good day again. This is another one of our fireside chats, this time with a member that's also got another service offering. Steve, it's lovely to have you here. Thank you for joining me. I think it'd be good to firstly catch up a bit on history,
Yeah.
on how your business is going as an operational business owner. But unusually, you're an operational business owner running a live and pretty vibrant construction recruitment business, I think.
Yeah.
But you're also a coach, aren't you? And doing some training, which is unusual because most coaches or trainers are now giving up all that, but you're still in the trenches.
Yeah, and it's finding that balance. I think that's
Yeah.
probably my biggest struggle
Well,
these
tell us
days.
the story and how they started then. How how
Okay.
how the business, how you sort of morphed into
Mhm.
wearing two hats.
So this is my 18th year in recruitment. I started off as a strategic buyer, and I think I came into recruitment having dealt with salespeople that consistently let me down. And I suppose I attack recruitment as an industry or as a service in a slightly different way. I'm process procedural. I'm spreadsheet savvy, highly detailed, and I think I came into the industry to effectively solve the pain points and the problems from the customer, be the client or the candidate. And I think I've always been slightly different to the norm. I was told I would never make it as a recruiter because I didn't have the right character traits, the right personality
It's a
profile.
wonderful personal challenge when people throw that at
Do
you. You
you know what,
bounce
Simon?
that.
I think if I hadn't have had that feedback, I would have been a very different consultant because it was almost like the fuel to your fire. It was that
Yeah.
bit that says, don't doubt the fact that I can do this, because I knew at the time I would bring something different.
Mhm.
And I think I just set about being very organized, very strategic and structured in my approach. And I wanted everybody to know who I was, so that if ever there was a move within the commercial construction market, that they would come and find me because they knew I offered an honest, hardworking, communicative recruitment service.
Yeah.
And I set about that task. That was back in 2006 at Hayes. Um, Loved the training, loved the setup, loved the fact that you were in essence in charge of your results, depending on
Mm.
how much effort you put in. And then I was headhunted 2008 to set up a new region for a business called Fast Track Management Services. Opened that office in Birmingham. They were historically Watford-based trades and labour rail agency, and I was coming in to do perm construction recruitment. I set about growing that region, opened their Manchester office 2015, had a 7 million sales turnover across the two offices, grew it to 19 staff across the two. And then 2019 decided it was time to go and do something a bit different. I'd wrote my first book, Top Biller, which was doing okay. That was my differentiator to
Yeah.
ensure people knew who I was, and I was a little bit different to everybody else, I suppose. And the plan at that time was to have 6 months where I wasn't managing anyone and just to continue recruiting, get back to what I loved. I've always recruited throughout, even managing the two offices and the
Yeah.
staff, I was still recruiting. And I thought at the end of that 6 months, I'd go and do a bit of consultancy work with local recruiters, new recruitment business owners, people that just wanted a bit of, I suppose, coaching and mentoring and support. Well, that 6 months was just where COVID hit. So it changed the thoughts and the plans, I suppose. It was my wife and I running a perm recruitment agency. Construction market had just ground to a halt.
Yeah.
Most recruiters were on furlough and sat at home, not really knowing what was around the corner, feeling a bit insecure. And I think it was about the April time. I was just noticing lots of LinkedIn posts of consultants just, I suppose, scared and nervous as to what the future held or holds. So I put a post out to say, if you're that recruiter that needs a bit of a support, a laugh, a rant, a cry, whatever you need,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to clear out my diary next week, Monday to Friday. You can book in for a 30-minute Zoom call, and we'll have a a chat, see if I can offer any value and if we can get to anything that will allow you to progress. And I think at the time I did it because it was giving back. I think I missed my staff from Fast Track. And I wanted to submerge myself with other recruiters to see what was going on. I thought it would be 8 to 10 people, if I'm honest, that would book in. It would be ex-colleagues, ex-friends, ex-people just almost booking in for a bit of a laugh and a joke and maybe a catch-up. And it was 62 recruiters. I didn't know any one of the 62, albeit some I was connected to, some I wasn't. And it was global. So I was talking to recruitment consultants of all levels, really, around, there was individuals from Singapore, Japan, Hong Kong, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, the US, parts of Europe.
That messed up your sleep pattern then.
Honestly, Simon, it was a really tough week. I enjoyed it, but when you've got a limited space of time, say 30 minutes, to talk to someone you don't know from a different culture or from a different area around the globe, you've got to spark that, I suppose, that initial problem or pain point where you can add a little bit of value and get to a point where they go away appreciating that something's happened where they can go and take some action. And by the Friday, I was shattered, if I'm honest. It was exhausting because the calls were pretty much back to back. And I was sat in my study at home. Obviously, my wife was homeschooling at the time as well. We'd just got a puppy as well that was 12 weeks old. It was a bit manic, but actually the end result of that was there was so many individuals that either never had training or never had proper training or just lacked just small tweaks that could make such a massive difference. And I think it prompted me to create something that was online, was affordable, and people could do anywhere in the world. And actually I could start to make an impact. And you touched on it earlier. The biggest thing for me was, or the feedback I've had from people that have been on training courses within recruitment, was they were being told to do things by somebody that had perhaps stopped doing it 15, 20 years before. And they were already, I suppose, disengaged from the trainer because they're thinking, well, you don't do that. And times have changed and it's all about social media or messaging now. So I wanted to do something where I go through the pain points. And actually, when you turn up on a Monday and your starter hasn't gone in, or you've had a credit because someone's left their job, it's one of the most difficult things to do in recruitment. I think get over that hurdle when it's first thing on a Monday morning. And I still go through it now. And I think it's important because markets have changed, the way of working has changed. And being able to adapt over time, I think, is a really valuable lesson.
Just moving on then, when did you start your development and training program? Because you've built that now, haven't you? And that's up and running. And you're supporting, a significant number of people from all over with that program, aren't you?
Yeah. So that call was April 2020. And I think because of my character, I've made copious amounts of notes over the years. I've got books upon books upon books. I tend to retain a lot of information and I love process and procedure and structure. I set about creating the online training program. It's a 12-week program. It's modular, 4 to 5 videos per module, and it covers all areas from mindset to all the bits in between. And I think the first cohort was June 2020. The actual initial cohort was ran through a Facebook group.
And
the reason behind that was I wanted the videos and the training to be released on a weekly basis. So every Monday, the videos dropped and the documents and the downloadable content. But what it allowed me to do was be really interactive per video with each delegate. And if I'd missed anything or things weren't quite clear or they weren't getting the learning that I was trying to get across, I could kind of tweak the content and it just made it more valuable because I knew then at the end of the 12-week program that it actually really worked and there was some tangible results that each individual was getting.
So where are we? If we jump forward from June 2020, has
Mhm.
that has the program organically grown? How does it work?
Yeah.
So I'm and what's the typical best type of recruiter that you work with to help them if yeah, is it newbies, or is it someone with 5 years experience? Who's joining?
It's a good mix, if I'm honest. So it is exceptionally good training for new recruits.
Mm,
So individuals that have perhaps been in a month, maybe up to 12 months,
yeah.
and they need the basic structure of how everything fits together.
Mm,
Having said that, I've had people that are MDs of businesses with multiple employees go through it. I had one consultant in South Africa that had been in recruitment for 14 years,
okay.
and they said they'd learned more in the first 4 weeks than they had in the previous 13, 14 years.
Okay.
So I think because I look at things probably from a buying perspective, I try and make it so that the program makes you think perhaps slightly differently to I suppose, a sales consultant.
Yeah, I get you.
And because in my experience, if we talk about like disc profiles, most consultants are a high D dominance about relationship, about
Mm,
being comfortable in groups of people, but quite often they don't know how they've got there, or that structure or way of working perhaps isn't as good as it could be. I think I offer something slightly different to your typical sales or recruiter.
What what's your disc profile then?
A high C.
Yeah, yeah, that's unusual because yeah, all me and my people when I was at Principal People before I'd sold, all the consultants, the business consultants were IDs
I
or
do.
a
Yeah.
DI.
Yeah.
So, but that's really that attention to detail is actually quite a big missing link in
Yeah.
front end business developers. So that
It's it, it's been my journey, if I'm honest, over 18 years. I've always been perhaps the one that didn't quite fit in.
yeah,
I've been successful. I've been the high performer. I've been the top billing consultant, and I've always done um, pretty well every year, every 18 years. And I think it's down to the fact that I've got a set process and procedure, and I do things in a way that I suppose you'd call it borderline OCD in my typical daily setup. Um, but again, that enables me to work with consultants to see or kind of plug the holes.
yeah, I get that. How and your view on the market? What's what's happening now? Firstly, in your space, and what are you hearing from your community for
I think,
2023?
yeah, it's mixed messages. Last year, I think, was probably one of the toughest years I've had. There was lots of opportunities, severe lack of candidates,
Yeah.
and a high level of counter offers, even when you'd found opportunities for individuals.
Mm.
This year, we've come back and we've had a really good start to the year. In fact, I put a post out this morning on LinkedIn. We're just hit our best ever month in terms of perm placements and overall revenue for
Yeah.
February. February being one of the shortest months in the year, that's even
Yeah.
better. We're 163% of target, which is amazing.
Mm.
So for me, I think the market is good. It's still very much candidate led, but construction and the markets that I've worked in have always been candidate led.
Yeah.
It's certainly the side of the market that I'd rather be sitting. We've grown as a business. We're up to 5 staff now. So yeah, I think things are good.
Fabulous. And what do you hear from your cohorts of the people you're training? How are they feeling?
Um,
Are they confident, or are you building that confidence in them?
it's a bit of both. I think the 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 people that go through the training are from such a mixed and diverse sectors and markets. It differs quite wildly.
Mm.
Um, and I think a lot of it, for me at the moment, is about business development. A lot of it is about trying to improve the way people approach the market and actually win business. In my opinion, I think recruitment has lost that ability to pick up the phone in many parts and just have a conversation, and it becomes too much about the automation or the emails or the messages or the DMs. And for me, whilst it's got its place, I think we should be thinking more about actually just building relationships, making phone calls, introducing ourselves, and talking to people.
Mm.
And that's the bit that, for me, I think if you're doing that element, I think you're a step ahead of the majority.
Good stuff. And how many do you tend to have in a cohort? Do you limit that so that you can interact and there's a buzz in the group? How does it work?
So the groups have ranged anything from about 8 to 15 people per cohort. I think I always based it on the fact that at its peak, I had 19 staff. So I'm used to that sort of number. Because the training is set up now in terms of the actual content, it can accommodate more. I would just limit the interactive Zoom sessions that we hold to perhaps 1 or 2 every fortnight. And it just becomes a manageable number. So I invite all the previous delegates from the last 2 years that can come into the Zooms as well. So it's free to come along and bring questions and scenarios and struggles, and we can discuss as a group.
Good stuff. Well, Steve, that's a really positive story. I think it was a very generous outreach you had back in April 2020. It's what people needed at that time. There was such a lot of stress involved in that, and I laid 27 people. I put 27 people on furlough back at Principal People, and we got a lot of them back fantastically by June. But my gosh, that was worrying times. And out of that initiative has spawned another revenue stream and something that you can give back to the industry, and people are developing. And you're helping the people develop in the industry with that. So I think it's fabulous and a great revenue stream for you too as well.
Well, that's it. It protected the business in a way. It allowed me to generate revenue when perhaps the market had slowed. And if anything, I think I've tried to give back for such a long time. Top Biller, my first book, was written in a way to empower the individual that perhaps sits at the back of a room and doesn't necessarily want to put their hand up and shout. Top Biller now is the highest reviewed recruitment book on the planet. I sold just short of 17,000 copies, which is
fantastic.
It's ridiculous. Wow. And certainly wasn't my thought process when I first put pen to paper.
Well done. Thank you for Top Biller. Thank you for today. And I look forward to seeing you on a team meeting soon where you can interact, and we'll give you the opportunity to give back a little bit more. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Cheers, Simon.
Cheers for now.